Already the capital of finance, fashion, and advertising, New York City is fast becoming the place to be for tech startups and giving California's Silicon Valley a run for its money. That's thanks to the city's diverse culture, a rapidly growing influx of capital, and bold incentives to draw talent. Liling Tan reports from the Big Apple.
Yes, Karina, already at number 2 in terms of the top technology hubs in the United States, New York is continuing to see a growing inflow of capital and talent that is helping to boost its tech startup scene. And to get a sense of how this sector is thriving here, we paid a visit to a young tech startup with its roots in New York's so-called Silicon Alley. New York City is home to Fueled, a tech startup that helps technology companies start up. And the founder of the 3-year-old company, Ramit Chola, says New York City has a major edge over California's Silicon Valley.
If you have clients, say, in fashion, or you have clients in finance, or you have clients in publishing, do you really want to go to San Francisco? A lot of business is done by sitting down with someone and building a relationship with someone. And so if you can sit down and go to 5 or 6 meetings around the corner in New York, you're more likely to build those relationships here.
And in an industry notorious for its shortage of good engineering talent, New York City wants to create and nurture that resource. The city is working with Cornell University to build a $2 billion campus and startup incubator on Manhattan's Roosevelt Island, a big plus for companies like Fueled.
Being in New York is a great opportunity to connect with that talent. Developers are increasingly moving to New York. There's increasingly funding, and there's government programs that make it easy for developers to be here.
Fueled now employs 45 people at offices in Manhattan, Chicago, and London, but says the bulk of its clients are still New York-based firms. This is the iconic 568 Broadway building where Fueled shares space with some of the biggest names in New York's tech startup scene, including ZocDoc, Thrillist, and Foursquare. The former sewing factory turned tech hub is where we're witnessing a confluence of culture and industry unique to Silicon Alley. There's also been a cultural shift that makes the city attractive, says Scott Galloway, founder of L2, a digital innovation think tank.
There are a lot of young people moving here who are willing to take cuts in pay, live in a small apartment in Brooklyn with 3 other people, and order pizza every night and work till midnight in exchange for equity in a company. Whereas the people who moved here 10 and 20 years ago were mostly looking to get jobs on Wall Street and focused on their current income. And while consensus is that New York is unlikely to surpass tech-heavy Silicon Valley anytime soon in terms of capital influx and what Galloway calls a go-west young man mentality, he says the city is carving out an expanding space of its own and that being at number 2 isn't such a bad place to be. Karina?
So, Liling, we see that New York has the talent, they've got the capital and the will, but you don't think that Silicon Alley will ever take over Silicon Valley as a top spot? What's your guess?
Well, a lot of people I spoke with are unwilling to bet on that, and neither am I. The Valley on the West Coast, it has a culture that draws a tremendous amount of capital into the Bay Area. But bear in mind that because the overall sector, because of its highly innovative nature, is constantly evolving and growing. The outlook down the road over 2 decades, according to Scott Galloway, is that other major cities could emerge to take that top position. And we're talking about cities like Sao Paulo, Mumbai, and Guangzhou. But at least for the short to medium term, it's likely that Silicon Alley and Silicon Valley will continue to lead the pack. Karina.
Okay, yeah, so basically New York has its work cut out for itself if it wants to get to number 1. Thank you so much, Liling, for joining us tonight. And now let's head back to D.C., where Phil is with us.
All right, you guys.